Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, and this week I am in the Philadelphia area for the Perennial Plant Association's annual symposium. And today's tour is another new one for me, the amazing grounds of Swarthmore College. And I've long wanted to visit here. I don't know why it's taken so many years, but I am so stoked to experience all of this with you. So let's go strolling. Compared to landscapes in the Southeast, they're way ahead of us on like naturalistic, ecological, native plantings in this region. And it's really intriguing to see the different places. You know, a lot of the talks have been on this subject, and the real goal is for there to not be any open space between plants. So again, this is what I'm gonna try and aim to create, not in like an overwhelming way. I want it to be legible and pretty, but simultaneously useful. What a great experience to see. I know that when I was in college, the landscapes didn't look like this at all.
You have the two grasses juxtaposed together, the Aragosta spectabulus with the Bouteloua curcopendula, where you have two different structures, but they're both grasses.
Sorry, I'm forcing you to be in a video.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're having a plant nerd moment, and I want to capture it.
We were on the bus. Taylor, you ready for your cameo? But the Calamovilfa longifolia is native all across the U.S. wherever there's sand, and it holds dunes together and really thrives at that kind of combination of stress and rurality. You know, so it does have a tendency to be somewhat of a colonizer in those sorts of conditions. But it does an incredible job of holding sand in place. It's very easy to arrest its development if you need to pull out the runners or something like that. But when we collected in 2019, what we were interested in is just to see what kind of genetic variation that there was, because when we were there in September, even just the density of the inflorescences, I mean, just these beautiful sort of golden heads. I mean, it was just stunning, all up and down where the railroad tracks were that were cut through the sandhills. And so we found, in fact, in this batch of seed that we grew, that there's incredible variation, as sort of expected with a lot of like warm season grass populations. But we have blue foliage, we have green foliage, we have nice kind of creamy yellows and bright golds in the seed heads. And so anyway, you'll get one.
Thank you. And I'm just gonna say to the YouTube people, we need Kelly to make his own channel, because you can really get information from this nerd who says he's introverted but willing to discuss plants. And that's why we're all together. And we're also day drinking here at Swarthmore.
Allegedly.
So Swarthmore College is completely beautiful and idyllic, and well, I hope you're going to enjoy this tour. Well, it's the Gordlinia, the intergeneric hybrid of Gordonia and Franklinia in full bloom. I think it's one of the sweetest little flowers. And really great fall color plant, like epic fall color. All right, so this is Franklinia, named the genera, named for Benjamin Franklin. And it was thought to be extinct. It was found in one valley in Georgia, hence its species name, Alatahama. And they are both cuttings and seed grown. I primarily produce them from cuttings. And this is a really remarkable specimen. Look at how huge it is. Honestly, I really need to come back here with more time because the tree collection is so epic. Here is Cercis chinensis Don Egoff, plant I have in my garden. Shows you how big it can get over time. Another Franklinia. We're in the midst of their tree peony collection here at Swarthmore, which is, I gather, one of the largest tree peony collections.
It's big.
And it's well labeled. You gotta appreciate a garden where you can actually go up to the plants and see what they are. So you don't have to be a horticulture professional to appreciate and recognize all that's planted here at Swarthmore. And I'm here with my friend Janet Draper, who is hugging another epic ginkgo. Holy cow. Do you feel its soul?
It is beautiful.
What is this tree?
Cercidophyllum.
What is its common name?
Katsura tree.
I forgot its common name in the last video, so we're overcompensating in the Swarthmore video. And it's one of Bree's favorite trees ever. So this slope here is really a great example of conifers. So I believe it's deodar. That looks like Cedrus, the Lebanon cedar, which is the iconic ones in the Downton Abbey opening, you know, at that awesome house in England. All right, so first of all, notable, there are crepe myrtles here. And I know that maybe not everybody gets excited about them, but I like crepe myrtles. But more importantly, there's a deciduous magnolia in bloom. This is March till frost, aptly named. Obviously, it is grafted. You can see the graft union about 2 inches above where it's planted. And it's notable here, they have an incredible magnolia collection because a former horticulturalist who worked here, Andrew Bunting, is a magnolia enthusiast. In fact, he wrote the book on magnolias. So if you're interested in magnolias, you should buy that. And it's really cool to see one flowering now in August, because usually this is something, if you watch my videos, you know I complain a lot about deciduous magnolias because for me in North Carolina, they flower in March and then we inevitably get cold and they all burn off and you get to enjoy them for like 30 seconds. But I would totally grow a variety that bloomed through the summer season. And look at how cute and dwarf this is. I mean, I have no idea how old it is, but a variety worth noting. March till frost. This is totally a Bree garden. It can change every year. That's what I like about it.
When I have the one area ready, you come out.
I will come. I will give you edible annual
I'll be
installations.
Like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
really good at this, but this, I'm an idiot. I'm comfortable with that. But look, I have Bree.
You have Bree to do this. Exactly. Okay, this is a must-have. This is an interactive sculpture made out of rocks that you can change. Oh my gosh, I might as well be like 5 years old. That one's pretty heavy. Let's see. Oh, I have to do this at home. I can't live a happy life without an interactive rock sculpture. Okay, there's my big contribution. You guys, it's a monarch. I haven't seen any monarchs in North Carolina, but here's one on Verbena bonariensis with Monarda in the background. How exciting. Wait, what musa is that? It's not. It's Encente glaucum, the snow banana. Holy crap, put your hand on that. I need scale. That's an enormous inflorescence. Wowzers. Wow. Okay, guys. Banana we all need to grow. Encente glaucum. So this whole trip I've been seeing how nice the weather is, and today I'm actually starting to break a sweat, but in the shade here, it's really pleasant.
It's the sun, it's not the temp.
Yes.
And the humidity, of course, but still not the humidity usual.
And they do hostas in pots really well. For me, that's the most logical thing because the voles can't get to them and they get better cold chill, so they have a better dormancy. So tip to anybody who loves hostas but lives in a hot region, grow them in pots. Look at how charming this is with the various carex and the Lobelia cardinalis. We've got viburnums and heuchera, itea. It's a really interesting mix of native and non-natives, which is something that intrigues me because I see value in all plants as long as they're not invasive. So like right here, you've got Carex flocka, but you also have Rhodia japonica and Rumex. And I'm assuming these are Heuchera villosa, so that's a native species of Heuchera. Yes, they are. That's Autumn Bride. Honestly, there's a million Heuchera available in the market. If you live in a hot climate, Heuchera villosa Autumn Bride is still one of the most reliable. It's really not an annual. Okay, so I think this is Amy. I called it Daucus, but I think it's Amy. And it's so pretty, and they just got it scattered in here. This is so how I garden. You see sunflowers, non-permanent things mixed with permanent things. That's that variegated plant right there, that's Brainia. And you know, it's not hardy, but it's super cool. Look at the size of these dahlias. Oh my gosh. Okay, hand comparison. That is way bigger than a brie hand. That is amazing. That is Kelvin Floodlight. Wow, what a beautiful garden. I was just talking about how I love this for Freya, which is like a non-violent agave, not hardy, but easy to overwinter as a houseplant. Really outstanding variegation. If you want like really dynamic texture, you can grow for Freya instead of agave. You know a plant's good when you can't resist touching it as you pass by. What panicum is this, you know? I don't see a label. Okay, so there's always confusion about what a carrot is versus Ami. So this is definitely Ami majus. You see, they call it bishop's weed. Great plant in the Apiaceae family, certainly a host plant for swallowtail caterpillars. But the foliage is much finer, and the flowers don't ever have the little black spot in the middle. They also just tend to be a little thicker and denser. This is primarily grown as an ornamental, so it does not produce an edible root like Daucus, which is the botanical name of carrot. And just a little nerd stuff here. The very first plant, botanical Latin name I ever learned, was Echinops ritro, which is this globe thistle. I entered it into the Monroe County Fair, 4-H fair, when I was 10, and I won a blue ribbon. And well, that's really where I got started on botanical Latin. I remember my mom saying, "Oh, you study horticulture, you have to learn a whole different language." And I sometimes think I learned botanical Latin just to prove to her that I could. It's the original observatories. Ridiculously cute cottagey with these fabulous naturalistic plantings. I mean, look at the Asclepias tuberosa covered in milkweed bugs. I don't see any monarch caterpillars on it right now. It is really encouraging to see a college campus planted like this because it's not the norm. I can tell you NC State doesn't look like this, but it should. Doggone it. They are a land-grant university. They should have a better landscape. This should be what we are working towards. And not only universities, but, you know, commercial landscapes, residential landscapes, denser planting, more purposeful. It's engaging and it's meaningful and it solves a lot of problems environmentally. And Swarthmore is a really great example of that. This is intriguing. Look at the alliums that are spent, but they still look so interesting. My mom in Michigan, when she lived in Michigan, used to do this, and she would spray paint them really crazy colors. I have to say, I like them brown. They give a nice color contrast. And here's again Phlox Jeana. You can tell it has a much smaller, like, individual flower on the panicles. And that is a pollinator magnet, but a serious underperformer for me. I've never been able to keep it alive for more than one season.
And we all grew it in full blessing sun. That plant was not found in full sun.
Okay, so Taylor is giving us the insight that Jeana was found in a more shaded location. So perhaps I need to, do you have it in stock?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm going to get some and put it in a shadier location, maybe like the north side of the property, where it'll get some structural shade, and maybe that will help make it persist a bit longer.
We grow it in full sun, but you might have, because of the heat
Right.
that you experience and the constant humidity and the longer day length, it might be just way too much for that plant. And it has a tendency, if it struggles, you get a very intense display and then it goes by.
That's precisely my experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was gorgeous, but then it just didn't come back the next season.
So, and funny, we did some in pots for a pollinator count experiment. They did really, really well. None of those survived the transition out of the pot into the ground. But the ones we planted in the ground that are up against the wood line
Are doing fine.
they get a little bit of break from the sun in the peak of summer and they're doing fine.
Okay, there you have it, everybody.
Hi, Madam Gloss, supervisor here at the Scott Arboretum, and I just wanted to say thank you to PPA for coming and joining us today on this amazing day to tour the Dean Bond Rose Garden and the rest of campus. So enjoy and hope to see you all back soon.
Thank you so much for your hospitality. And also, I love that this is a rose garden, and I didn't even notice that there were roses.
We try and keep it interesting all times of the year, so it's interplanted with all sorts of perennials and woodies and annuals also.
You have succeeded. So in this planting, one of my favorite perennials, Saruma henryi. You can see it's finished flowering. That's the spent bloom. It kind of comes up through the leaf. It's a great perennial for dry shade. Also Tricertus coming up, which aren't blooming yet. Lots of epimedium, tons of epimedium, which bloom, of course, up here probably in spring, like March, April. For me, they're more like January, February. This big variegated tree is Aurelia, and it's in full bloom. And this looks like Calycanthus, which would have flowered probably in June. And of course, one of my all-time favorite native trees, Magnolia macrophylla variety ashei. And the reason that variety ashei is so remarkable is that it has a lower branching structure It blooms much younger, so you actually get to enjoy the flowers at a level where you can actually see them. So like, for example, this would have flowered earlier this year. That is the seed pod starting to form. The straight species, Magnolia macrophylla, usually takes at least a decade to flower, and it flowers at like 20 foot tall. So you almost never see the flowers. But of course, even when it's not in bloom, it's a very dramatic plant because it has such incredible tropical foliage with the silvery undersides. It's really a remarkable magnolia that I think belongs in every garden, including my new one. Okay, so my phone's about to die. It's gonna make making the video hard, but we are coming to this awesome courtyard container garden. I'm hoping I have enough juice to show you up for that. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and be sure to tune in tomorrow for another awesome garden tour. Take care, everybody.